Good evening, everybody. How are you doing tonight? Today is December the 4th and Friday. Hope you all are having a great evening. Was a little bit musty outside, some clouds, a little bit of fog, crappy weather. Had a busy day today. Had a busy last couple of days, as a matter of fact. Save Prop 13 signing in Rancho Cordova went off extremely well. Thank you for those of you that showed up. Thank you for those of you that put your name to the paperwork collected by individuals. Thank you for signing up for the voter ID initiative, and the Save Prop 13 initiative, as I stated earlier. Thank you, Mr. Tim Schaefer, for being present, and for John McGinnis for also showing up and doing the supporting item, plus the folks there from the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. But most importantly, thank you, the voters, for coming out on a really, really bad day and putting your name to paper to begin to make the changes that California desperately needs. Excuse me. I just wanted to put out here to my fellow citizens, for those of you that are in unions, as a matter of fact, former union members, state workers who are union members, we were not in the same union. You're in SEIU, and I was in UPE Local 1. Sacramento-based, little small union, had about 6,000 people that we represented when I worked in the County of Sacramento, Department of Human Assistance, the welfare office downtown here in Sacramento. I wore 3 hats during my time in my 9 years as a union rep: a governing board member, a chief steward, and their safety representative. So pretty much my responsibilities ran over about 3,000 to 5,000 employees at the time. That was a lot of responsibility, and I wore each hat independently of the other and managed those responsibilities to the best of my abilities all the time. Nowhere did I purposely put a member in harm's way. Nowhere did I ever advise a member to do anything that put them in harm's way, knowingly and willingly. So why am I making this video? Because, Leo, you're not a union member anymore. You're right. I retired out of county service in 2017 after 11 years. You're not a member of UPE, Local 1 anymore. You're right. I left them a long time ago too, 2017. I don't represent them. I don't speak for them. You're not a member of the state. You're not a member of SEIU. Correct again on both counts. So why am I making this video, and why am I directing it to SEIU members and to all state employees up and down the state of California? Because I want you to realize and understand something that has been put out by a fellow candidate, a Republican candidate no less, one of my opposite numbers, one of the bigger fish in the pond, as they would call it, Mr. Hilton, that one. And he's jumped on the bandwagon now of exposing, even though we kind of already knew, the welfare debacle in the state of Minnesota. I'm glad he's overly concerned about the state of Minnesota. Maybe he should go campaign to be governor over there instead of over here. But because of that debacle, Mr. Hilton has taken upon himself to come here in California and to point out whatever happened in Minnesota is 10 times worse here in California. Well, I'm not sure about the 10 times as worse part, but we have our problems in this state. Yes, if you go back through the historical records of news reports and everything else, we've had individuals caught golfing all day long, but they were earning over $100,000 a year in their state job, Department of Transportation, I believe that was. Supervisors didn't know where he was till he got caught playing golf by somebody and reported. Forgot what happened to that person. Don't know what happened to that supervisor or manager or management. We have welfare programs here in California. Food stamp program, GA, General Assistance Cash Age program for single adults. CalWorks program, that's for families with children. We have Medi-Cal. We have the CAPI program for immigrants that come here. Foster care program, Section 8 housing, all kinds of things that individuals have tried to chop at me when Mr. Hilton was out there explaining how an individual that he had information on was getting nearly $7,000 a month in welfare benefits. That's $84,000 a year for those of you keeping math and keeping up. And of course, it elicited the outrage one could expect upon hearing such nonsense as a welfare recipient getting $84,000 a year to basically do nothing except draw a check. And he reported that this individual, an Afghanistan individual no less, asked their employer to receive cash payments so it wouldn't interrupt their welfare rolls. Well, that's funny. Because when I worked in the system, specifically for Medi-Cal food stamps and general assistance cash aid for single folks, I didn't know of anybody drawing that much money on the welfare system. They don't combine that easily to draw those type of funds. But if they are drawn together, that means somebody wasn't allowed to ask questions. That means nobody was checking the system, and the system wasn't bouncing off of itself to spot those indiscretions. That means that workers weren't doing their job as trained, but it also means they were, because they're directed by management not to worry about those nuances. Their job is to put people in the system, not to monitor whether it's right or wrong once they get there. According to the management that I was under at the time, that was somebody else's problem, Leo, not yours. But I was the eligibility specialist. So my rollover rate in a year, according to the investigators that I worked under, was about 800 cases a year that I rolled over for fraud and abuse. Catch rate of 80%. The nearest person to me in my workforce at the time was my coworker, 345 in the same period. That's how many cases he turned over. He was as thorough, but not as aggressive. And his catch rate success was about 70%, a little bit high, a little bit low. The nearest worker for him that reported in the same time frame was 50 cases. We had over 4,000 people working in our department. The whole department could not match my coworkers' reporting of 345 cases in a year for fraud and abuse. A worker would have to be on their game to catch some of this nonsense. But they'd have to have support from management to do it. And if management says, don't bother, don't do it, stay focused only on getting them into the program, not what happens after they're on the program, then that's what you get. Mediocrity, who cares, I don't care, it's not my money attitudes and dispositions. I've said this many a times. If you're a worker that's fouling up and there's like 1 to 4 of you, that's a worker problem, and we'll deal with that problem. But when you have 10, 15, 20 workers having that same issue, that to me is supervisory problems and management problems that need to be dealt with before you start fixing the lower ranks. Leadership starts from the top, not the bottom. So back to Mr. Hilton. Why am I bringing up his name? Why am I even bringing up this story? What the hell, Leo, does this have to do with the price of tea in China and California? Well, we're not talking about growing petunias here today, ladies and gentlemen. And I bring this up because SEIU workers, yeah, they're representing the supervisors in the welfare department, a few other places up and down the state. SEIU has a large reach that represents many people. State workers are included in the union portfolio. They're represented by SEIU. Chapters vary throughout the state. I would never tell a person not to report fraud, waste, and abuse. As an individual and especially as a Republican candidate. If you find it, see it, know it, by all means, report it. Hell yes. Turn that puppy in. Under the rules, guidance, and regulations that your agency prescribes to do so. And there are guidelines for state workers, and they know these guidelines because they're trained on them when they first start employment with the state. How to report, who to report to, what to do when you report. And if you're a whistleblower, there's federal laws to protect you in that status. Yes, there are procedures and steps to take to report fraud, waste, and abuse in the government of California. I'm not denying that. And by all means, do that, ladies and gentlemen, but do it the right way. Mr. Hilton, however, has taken a different path. He's created a private website. He's out here announcing and encouraging state workers to report to him instances of fraud, waste, and abuse from your agencies. And I would like to remind everybody, Mr. Hilton is a U.S. citizen, dual, but we'll stay on U.S. citizen. He's only a U.S. citizen. He is not a state employee. He is not a state representative. He is not a government representative. Might have been for England, but this ain't England. He's not a union rep. He is a nobody in the greater scheme of life in that world. So when that man tells you, encourages you, entices you, and asks you to turn in evidence of fraud, waste, and abuse to his website, with the wordings that you'll be kept anonymous and you'll have protections to remain anonymous unless you give up your name willingly, I would like members of the union to understand this concept. And most of you already know it, so it's kind of rhetorical for you, but for everybody else who might not know it because they're not union members, former, past, present, or future. That's the fastest way for your asses to get terminated without having the proper representation to defend those charges. What you have done, should you do that nonsense, is to provide an outside individual with the intricate knowledge of your department. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, you've given information of a sensitive nature to an unauthorized individual. It's called breach of confidentiality. Your individual rules and regulations can hone in on the proper language of how you will be terminated, and there's not much your union can do to save your behind. Play with this, and you could end up losing your career, and if you're not quite there, your pension. Ask your reps. They're not going to make noise to you. They're not going to tell you anything about this. And yes, I did make a phone call today to SEIU headquarters asking them for clarity on that position. They will intervene after you're out there hung to dry. They'll not warn you because it's not their purveyance to do so. Their viewpoint is what I thought it was. You're an adult, figure it out on your own. But if you do something stupid and get caught, you're pretty much on your own. They'll do what they can. But under those conditions, you're effed. And that's the nice way of putting it. And if you have hot managers and hot supervisors looking to fry your behind, and at the time I left, some of these places wanted to know where you went online. You had to give up your online information. The last thing that you would ever want your bosses to know is what you're confiding with on other people about your job or your employment. Don't trust me. You don't have to believe me. Check with your HR personnel. Look at your own regulations. Check with your union reps. As a governor candidate, I will never encourage employees to do something as dangerous as what Mr. Hilton is encouraging state workers to do currently. He's a Republican candidate. anything that you do will not reflect on him one way or the other. Any information he gets cannot be safeguarded by him at all. And so when it comes time to throw you under the bus to get run over, yes, you are dead meat. And he has nothing to do with you because nothing will happen to him. This is a candidate for governor that has put state workers in a very dangerous position doing what he's doing with that website, doing what he's doing by asking for that information. That's political theater in my mind. He's doing that. You'll never catch me doing that, and you'll never see me doing that at all. And SEIU and I are not friends on the political viewpoints that we have towards one another. But let me say this for the SEIU members out there, that if elected, I would still end up representing. I will never willingly and knowingly put you or your members in harm's way as recklessly as Mr. Hilton is doing now. His post has been up for 2 days. I would like to see him recant what he is putting out there and quickly take it down and remove it and that type of language. You want folks to report fraud, waste, and abuse? Let them go through the proper channels that they have to do so. But as a private citizen, to encourage state workers to give up the information you're asking for, well, I'd hate to see what you would do if you were governor. I'll just leave it at that. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for the opportunity to tell you about this problem. I thought I'd do a fast video on it because it sounds better than just typing it on X. Pass this around. Let your friends know. Let your buddies know. Check into what I'm saying. You can do it quietly. I know you guys have ways. Hell, I've done it quietly too, trying to find out information I didn't want everybody to know about. But I'll tell you what, SEIU, I asked that question, and they confirmed my suspicions. You could be terminated for giving up sensitive information to unauthorized individuals as it pertains to your department, and there's not much they can do to save you. If you don't know anybody in that boat, ask around, because somebody has suffered that fate somewhere. And I can name a few names that have from the county side of the house. God bless y'all. Have a wonderful weekend. Take heed to what I'm saying, or not. Because if you listen to the powers that be, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm a nobody candidate, according to them. You keep thinking that and telling yourself that. You guys have a wonderful night. Very safe weekend. Watch out for the fog. Drive safely. And we will talk again very soon.